guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to Raid Lore Stories. So today's lore story is going to be for Acelin the Stalwart. What's exciting with him is he's this brand new legendary champ that has this, what do they call it? It is a faction. It's like a faction specific kind of like buff, right? Considering that he's in Bannerlords and he's actually holding like the Bannerlord flag, right? It's like his A1 is Hammer of Karok. He does a stun. A2 is going to be shields. A3 here is called Behold the Banner. Oh, here we go. It's Bannerlord Unity. That's the word I was trying to think, was this faction wars unity thing. So he's actually the first champ to be added like this, right? So he's going to be helping out the Bannerlords. So with that, I'm really curious about his story and if it, includes any of that in here. So let's read it together. The name Acelin first appeared in recorded history during the Age of Treachery in the Land of Rebirth, where penitents can earn full forgiveness for their sins in exchange for 10 years of humble toil. There is no record of what sin drove the man to this place. When his decade was up, Acelin, though he wanted to, could not simply stay. He had to test his redemption to know if it was real. As it happened, his ultimate trial came for him immediately. As he was making warm goodbyes, a breathless messenger arrived. War had come to Karok, and the Sacred Order was mustering to aid their brethren in faith and staunch allies. Northern heretics of Frosthelm had violently broken with the Order's orthodoxy. Alongside Orc mercenaries and war bands of malcontent skinwalkers led by the Orc warlord Saftor the Farsighted, the Northerners were besieged, one after another. What were at that time merely the free cities of Karok, proud and strong, but divided against themselves. If Frosthelm had chosen to settle their differences with the Order in blood, Acelin vowed to repay them in kind and traveled to the nearest muster grounds. When he was evaluated, he proved naturally competent with shield and pickhammer. When the marshals of the Order questioned if he had a fighting background, Acelin's eyes darkened and he did not explain his skills. The Sacred Order can scarce afford to reject any able-bodied recruit, less a trained warrior, especially one who had earned the erasure of his past, and so he was passed. Acelin was no ordinary soldier. He was a born leader and a beast of war. He quickly rose through the ranks and proved a tactician without peer and a skilled negotiator to boot. In his first battle, he not only struck down a dozen foes to save the lives of several comrades with the timely intervention of his shield, but arbitrated between two feuding commanders and helped them synthesize a plan that ultimately won the field. He continued to produce victories and used his growing fame to advocate fiercely for trust and coordination between the cities. It was during this time he became known as the Stalwart. The humility and righteousness hard won by Acelin in the Land of Rebirth was key to his charisma and success. He fought for every soldier's life as if they were his kin, always meticulously choosing his engagements to avoid unnecessary casualties. This compassion won him the trust of the lords and garnered support for his calls to elect a singular warlord, a Knight of Knights, to oversee the war and, perhaps, the future of Karok as its sole monarch. One Lady Sethalia, who had long denounced the selfishness and disunity she saw among the lords, was his first avid supporter, and soon others followed. Without a Knight of Knights, Karok could never have repelled Frosthelm as it did, and had any but Acelin the Stewart, the twice destined, been elected to be that Knight of Knights, they may well have failed to live up to the enormous challenge. Acelin's magnanimity, sincerity, and guile saw Karok, the Order, and Arabian expeditionaries conduct a counter-invasion. The war had left a power vacuum and absence of leadership that Acelin exploited, just as the Frosthelm coalition had sought to do with the disunity of the Free Cities. The last general stand to oppose him was Talana Ironwell. She had consolidated what was left of the Frosthelm political structure under her leadership, and was the only power holder who could feasibly accept the terms of the surrender and legitimize the deal in the eyes of her people. Frosthelm and Karok both were remade by the Treaty of Peace, no longer confederations of city-states or of petty kings, but two strong kingdoms. Talana became the first queen of a united Frosthelm and immediately proposed a marriage alliance to Acelin. The warrior queen and the Knight of Knights were wed, and yet again Acelin was able to bring unity where strife had once prevailed. He was the first king of Karok, and under him the heads of the noble families became known as the Bannerlords. The impact of his rule went much further than this. Acelin and Talana laid the blame for the war squarely at the feet of Saftor the Farsighted, and in so doing laid the ground for the bloody Red Crusade. Centuries of strife followed, in which the Gallon Pact was formed. The origins of the Gallon War itself, bloodier than the Crusade, can be traced back to the decisions of Acelin. Okay, guys, I gotta say, I like this story in that. Okay, so they included Sathali in there, who's great. I'm pretty sure I did her story as well too. But how they kind of worded this and they made this work out was kind of how the Bannerlords were created as a faction. So I guess that would kind of make sense then that we have this new faction unity thing with him, because that's basically what we saw here, right? Is he was able to unify people and get people together to kind of create this Bannerlord faction. So I think that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to other stories for this, maybe to show us how all the other factions kind of form as well too. But guys, I'd love to know what you think of this story. Drop me a comment down below, and thanks for watching.